All right, friend, in this episode, we do a bunch of body work. We fix a bunch of cracks in the sheet metal and lay down a gallon of epoxy primer. Let's go. Got it all mixed with the tint. Now it's looking thick, isn't it? Nice and thick stuff. All right, guys, I'm trying a little dual video here. So I am working on the bodywork on the doors, as we can see, and very tedious bodywork here. So it's not like doing a big panel, where you're just trying to get out a little bump or a little dent or something. You got all these little edges and all this stuff has to get sanded, and and as good as I try to make the panel when it's metal, keeping it all straight, and there's little teeny bumps and stuff here and there, and there's a lot of, I know this looks very thick right now, but once this all gets sanded out, it'll be very thin. Like you can see this piece here I just finished sanding out. It's very thin, that's probably a 32nd of an inch, if that. And so this is ready for, that's ready for a coat of the fill prime. I've never actually used this before, so hopefully this is slick sand primer surfacer. So hopefully that'll help with some of the final scratches and stuff. So my plan is to get the interiors all prepped. I got this one going too. And I don't really want to sand inside the garage, so my easy up is making moves out there. So my plan is to get the insides done, and then I'll do the outsides. So I'm gonna at least get these sanded and primered and probably sanded again, and then I'll do the other side, and then we'll do a final paint all in one. Fixing up a little bondo. So I made up this little dam here, and I'm just gonna put some bondo in there, and I'm just trying to get a profile of this area of the door. Bondo applicator, actually. So I'm gonna use some bondo to make a spatula, basically, to apply more bondo, if that makes sense. Alright, so we'll let that set up for probably only take 10 minutes. And then I'm going to have a tool where I can put a bunch of filler on this edge and then scrape that along that edge all the way around. Because I need to build up this area here a little bit. It's a little bit low. Alright, boom. So that gives us a perfect profile there. So I'll trim this up a little bit. I should be able to use this now to run right along, put some filler on here and then just run right along here with this tool. Maybe not around that curve there, but I should be able to use it along here. Yeah, I can just go and get a perfect profile. I'm gonna get these doors prepped. Alright, we got Jay working on the sliding door here. We got a few issues. We got a pretty banged up corner here. And then we got a crack over here. So I'm gonna probably bust out the TIG machine, and I'll have to weld that up, hammer that a little bit, and try to get that fixed. But he's got it pretty well degreased, so now he's scotch brighting all the little edges. Alright, so I'm going to hit this with the weld. It actually goes all along in there, so I'm just going to kind of tack the roof. Alright, so I'm not grinding the welds down all the way, just kind of leaving it there for some extra strength. There's a little porosity in there. I did make weld it, and it was probably full of junk, but I'm just going to give a little smear on there and be good to go. One thing I do too is I cut, it's hard to see now, but I make little cuts on the back side, so it makes these little fingers. And then what it does is it allows this thing to bend over and gives you like a radius in here instead of a sharp edge. You go like this. Alright, I'm using Shopline epoxy primer with my cheap Harbor Freight gun. Just down here wiping things down. You can see all of the body work on there. It seems kind of crazy, but you know, when you're doing that kind of metal work, it's never going to be perfectly straight and flat, and it's still not perfectly straight and flat, but should be close. Close enough for the girls I go out with, so don't tell my girlfriend. And I did a little filler there on that weld area. That panel's ready to go. So I think we're pretty good. We just got to finish wiping her down. Alright, epoxy primer is on. Looks pretty good. It's not, definitely needs some, you can see some like deep scratches in there and stuff. So I'm gonna do some polyester fill prime in these bodywork areas. Don't need it on the rest, but looking good. Looking good. Alright, we got the side door here ready. Jay's gonna get to work on it. Yeah, so we got some rust. There's a rust hole right there. I'm gonna have to patch up. But it looks pretty good. And it's not. It's got a really long dent right here, like a long skinny scrape. Oh man, it goes all the way from up here all the way down, like it rubbed against something. All right, I've never used this before, but this is all the latest and greatest. It's probably been around for 10 years or longer. I don't know. But I've always just sprayed a mist of lacquer or something. But this is the new powder guide coat. And the idea here is that you put this on nice and even. And then it's going to highlight all of any flaws. So as you're sanding, it will show the scratches and stuff. So we'll see. Guide coat. Idea there of why we're using the guide coat. You can see how I'm actually getting down into the epoxy here, so I'm going to stop. And it had a wave through here, so there's still a little low. It was a low, a low, a low, a low. So this had like a little subtle wave to it. But same thing up in here, so that's a low there. You know, the guide coat really shows your lows, and then you just kind of sand your highs down to try to even out in the lows. And obviously it's got to be very close, right? It can't be like major waves. We're talking about like a 16th or a 32nd of an inch probably, or less. And it'll show like deep scratches too, so if you have like a funny scratch, it'll show a scratch, and then you just kind of sand off that scratch. So you can see even here this in here. So that's just kind of the texture of the primer. And then as you sand, all right, so we can see there that is a low spot. Now we're talking about Like if we put a straight edge on there, you wouldn't be able to see it. Alright, it's very subtle. So I just know I'm going to sit here and I'm going to sand in a cross hatch and just kind of, we can see it's going away. Now, I'm working in small areas, so this still could have some sort of wave to it, but honestly, I am not worried about it. So like I can take this long block and I can go along. Okay, so now we can, well, let me do that again. I won't wipe it off this time. Okay, so we can see where that was hitting along in there, along, it was wider here, skinny there, a little skinnier there. So we can, this is more domed, this is more flat, but they're all kind of, we know that these are all kind of, this isn't perfectly flat, right? This is kind of riding, these are kind of going like this, but it's fairly flat. Back to this spot over here, using this is a harder block than this one. So, boom, that is gone. So it looks like right here we've got a pretty good low spot. So you can see that this is all very low in here, but you know, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. That's how you do it. Nothing to it the way I do it. I've actually had this Eastwood machine for probably 10 years, but never stripped any panels with it before. It's been a long time since I've done body work, but man, it really makes the panel look nice. So I'm going to put some, look at that. I got some rust in here, so I'm going to do some rust treatment. And then I have some bad dents in here where the front had gotten smashed. So I'm going to have to cut this out and weld in, do some welding. And then I got a weird crack up here, which I think is where the wing vent. So maybe from the impact of a crash somehow caused this. Can't really tell if it's a crack. I think it's a crack. So I'm going to hit that with a little weld too. But they are looking shiny. I don't know if you can tell in the camera here, but how shiny. That's shiny metal. That's shiny bare metal. So it's probably 2 hours. Jay worked on these for about an hour, the middle, and then I just did the frames in about an hour. And I got a couple little corner spots to get with the... Alright, got the door here in the weld area. I just welded up that crack there. And it actually went all the way around. And I think it was lined up right on the wing vent, so it's kind of a, I guess, normal spot for that. And then I'm going to, these guys here, I'm going to drill this out. Get a nice even hole. And then probably going to do these ones too. I got a little baggie of plugs here. I'm gonna pick one to weld in there. So basically I'm just gonna hold these in there, tack it in, smooth it out. I'm using a magnet to hold that in there, which can kind of mess with your arc, but I just need to get one tack on and then I can take the magnet off. Alright, here you see I got this half welded in. I just hammered and dollied it a little bit to get it nice and flush. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll do the job. Man, I love how it looks, just bare metal. 65 up there on the lift. So I'm using this little 4.5-inch shrinking disc, and you can see how on the black marks on the sheet metal how it where I've really been heating it up and shrinking the metal, and you can see like along here there was this huge crease here. There's this big crease which you can still see, but you know the difference between that valley and that peak is probably a 32nd of an inch. You know, it's barely there. I did push it out from the inside. You can kind of see where I was pushing from the inside. It's hard to get in there. And this is all perfect here. So now we got a nice roll here. So a little teeny bit of filler in here. My patch ended up being low right there. You can see how low that is. It looks like a crater on the moon right there. Actually, it's Artemis 2 coming in for a shot of the moon. Oh. If you believe that. Anyways, I got a little low spot over here. I'm going to try to shrink this up some more. And that'll be ready for just a skim coat of filler, and that baby will be fixed. All right, we got Nature's Booth here again. We got them all stripped down. They're a little wavy in there, but I got no oil canning now. I had to do some shrinking, welded in those spots, so it's going to definitely get a decent skim. I didn't even try to get this dent along here. It's so minor, a little skim. Be good. There's a couple other little teeny dents, and I rust treated overnight this rust along here with the old OSFO, so she is ready to go. I'm gonna just spray some epoxy primer on them. All right, check it out. We got these guys all primed up with the old epoxy primer. Feels really good. Got some skim coating to do. There's definitely some boogers. You can really see the dents, like little dent right there, a little dent right there. So definitely it's gonna need some body work. This door's pretty good. It's got a couple. You can see a couple good dents over there, and it's got a really long streak dent along here, and then this little guy here. So, but we stripped it down to bare metal. One more step done. Look at that sun. Is that the sun? That is the sun. That's the Florida sun right there. All right, so I'm trying a different approach here. So normally, in my 30-something years of doing body work and restoring cars and making some show cars and stuff, I've always done the body work, the plastic filler, the Bondo first on bare metal, and then go into the primers. So kind of the new way to do it is epoxy prime first, scuff it, do the body work. So that's what I'm trying on this one. So I applied epoxy primer on all of these 2 good coats, and now I just sanded it with some 180. You can see some high spots here that I hit, and this all has to get skimmed. This is all wavy in here on this door, both doors. This door's pretty good. I just have a little skim to do along here, and some people coat the whole surface with filler. You see that on a lot of show cars where they coat the whole surface with plastic filler, and then they just sand it down from there, which maybe saves some time. And if you're going panel to panel trying to get everything perfectly laser straight, it's really the only way to do it, no matter how good your metal work is. I don't care what anybody says. But on this van, I'm not really worried about panel to panel straightness at all. So it's going to get a patina paint job and stuff, so there won't be any shiny reflection lines and stuff to see and all that. So my plan here is just to get these things close to straight and go from there. I'm just taking the Scotch Brite, hitting any of these really low spots, just to make sure I got, you know, some, everything is scuffed, because we're going to be putting this filler on. So, I mean, you can see all the spots all over, all the high spots that I exposed bare metal. So the whole idea of epoxy, you know, and I know like Bryce at Big Kid Blocks is like, if you hit bare metal, you know, then just put some more epoxy primer on. Well, how much epoxy primer are you going to put on this thing? Like 10 gallons of primer, you know? So We're gonna go into some filler now. Let's do this. Covered in Bondo dust. You see? I have to say, this is the first time using this dry guide coat, and man, it works really nice. It sands right out. You don't have to get spray cans out and stuff, and that really shows the low spots. So when you're sanding, you know, you just keep working away at it. I'm just doing this one-handed here, but you know, and just kind of shows your highs and lows. I like it. Just sprayed some epoxy primer on. It's hard to see, but they look pretty good. I'm gonna spray some fill prime on tomorrow. I really can't see, but yeah, they always look better when you get back to one color. Alright, this was the final coat of epoxy primer over all the bodywork. It's got it out here baking in the sun right now. And man, I'm really partial to gray. Gray truck, gray Jeep, but a lot of dirt in it and stuff. But that's what you get when you spray outside horizontally. But it looks really good. It's got some little waves in it, little tiny waves. I can see like right in here. There's a little wave. I can actually feel it. Man, all that bodywork, it's still got waves. Can I get some damn paint on this bus? I mean, it's only been 2.5 years I've been working on this damn thing, but it is ready for some paint. So we're at bodywork stage right now, working on all the interior and door jamb bodywork. I'll try to get that up in primer tomorrow, and then I can move on to the exterior body panels. One step at a time. Let's go, baby.